There's no greater love than that of a mother for her child. I wonder if that still means the same if the kid isn't hers.
You are now listening to The Infamous Ones, a true crime podcast hosted by Kay on Spotify. A podcast aimed to uncover and share the stories behind heinous and insane acts that have been overlooked or overshadowed by mainstream media, getting justice for the voices that can't speak.
What's up, y'all? It's your girl Kay, and I am the host of The Infamous Ones, a true crime podcast. A podcast designed to focus on crimes committed in the Black community that you don't hear about in mainstream media, giving a voice to those victims that have otherwise been silenced. Hello, 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 everybody. Welcome back to another episode of The Infamous Ones, a true crime podcast with me, Kay, the Texas girl in a Georgia world, baby. Now it's Sunday, June 29th, 2025, and your girl is honestly feeling rejuvenated and restored, especially after last week. This weekend's been a little busy, went to work. Today, I went to church and got a good word from the pastor. He was preaching on, put some respect on his name. I'm like, okay, Pastor PJ, I see you. And, I cooked me a good little meal today, made me some smothered chicken with some homemade mashed potatoes and some mustard greens. So if y'all hear me smacking, that's why. Okay. Then on top of that, I started cleaning my house from top to bottom and saging it and everything and, handle some business for the upcoming tour, of course. And I even started binging Grey's Anatomy. So I've never seen the show before. Everybody kept, recommending it to me because I was like, oh, I need something that's like I can just binge for a while. And apparently Grey's Anatomy got like 20,000 seasons. So right now I'm on like season three. Baby, when I tell you this show got me in a chokehold, first of all, how the hell they all have jobs is beyond me because they be doing some scandalous stuff and then they over there cross contaminating coochies and all of that. Like it's too much. But I'm hooked. Like I'm only on like season three, I think like episode 17. So I got a while to go. But that show got me hooked. Soon as I'm done with this episode, I'm going right back to it and I'm off tomorrow. So, yeah, I'm pretty much going to be watching Grays from the time that my eyes open until it's time for me to go to bed. Okay. But anyway, so, as far as the live tour is concerned, y'all know that the first show is coming up in October and it's going to be in Charlotte, North Carolina. So, the tickets will be going on sale. They will be live July 15th. It's going to be dope because, I'm going to have a live case. There's going to be some special guests there. My bro, Seven the Panther, is performing. And I got something really special that I'm cooking up for the guests. Tipsy Sips is going to be there with my signature drink so you guys can get your sip on, while you enjoy the show. It's really going to be a whole vibe. Like I am just so excited. Tickets are going to be like maybe $50 each because it covers, your spot, of course, and the activity and of course, that signature drink that everybody is going to get and it's going to be unlimited. So, it's going to be a vibe. And like I said, tickets are going to go on sale July 15th, so get ready for that. Now, speaking of sipping, all right, y'all, y'all got to tell me what y'all sipping on tonight. Now, me tonight, I'm sipping on some guava double XL wine. So, if I sound a little slurred at some times, that's why I did not realize double XL is powerful. Okay. Like, it is a powerful, powerful wine, but I love it. So, I got my food, I got my wine. Let's get into it. Y'all ready to get into this episode? Now, it won't be super long, but it's one I'm sure you're going to love. So, hop on in and buckle up because we're going to take it back to 1996 in good old Vallejo, California, baby. Y'all know what time it is. Let's get it. This week's case involves Daphne Boyden, victim, LaJean Williams, surviving victim, Dolores Brown, LaTasha's mother and accomplice, Lathan Williams, Daphne's man and baby daddy, Oceanetta Williams, Latasha's cousin and accomplice, and the infamous murderer of the week, LaTasha Brown. LaTasha Ann Brown was born November 4th, 1980, to Dolores Ann Brown in Vallejo, California. She went by Tasha, which, a lot of girls do with that name. She grew up in a single parent household, and her mother, Dolores, was working hard to take care of her. Now, Dolores was working full time at a nursing home, and she worked part time at Joann's Fabrics. And then she was also a member of the Vallejo Volunteer Police Department. Like, that's something, a little different. I was kind of surprised when I saw that. I like that she did it. It's just too bad that she couldn't see anything that her child was doing, or rather, maybe she just didn't want to. Who knows? But I've learned that typically folks in law enforcement that have kids, they kind of turn a blind eye when it comes to their own. But be that as it may, Tasha attended Hogan High School, and Hogan was one of those schools where like they combined the middle school and the high school together. So, I mean, in a way, I kind of like that because like you know the same kids for a very long time, and the teachers really get opportunity to know you and all of that because you're there from like I think like 6th or 7th grade until you graduate basically. So I guess that's kind of convenient when you have multiple kids that are stair stacked and stuff like that. It makes it easy on the parents. Lord knows it would make it easy on me if I had, middle school and high school kids, which I do, and they all went to the same school. It would make it so much easier for pickup and drop off. I'm just saying. Anyway, maybe it was because Dolores was busy working to provide for the two of them, but Tasha had a lot of freedom to do things. But she was also left to be a victim, which was really sad because on more than one occasion, Tasha was a victim of sexual abuse. Now, supposedly, she had been sexually abused by her uncle, which, sadly, we see happen far too often and nothing is really done. But then it happens again when one of the boys in the neighborhood decided that he wanted to get at her, and she told him no. So he just decided to take it. And at that point, I guess Tasha's mindset was, okay, nobody's going to help me. Nobody believes me. So I just have to let it happen. One time it happens and it's your uncle. And, God only knows if she told her mother or not, and 9 times out of 10, even if she did her mother do anything about it? Because it doesn't sound like she did. And then a neighborhood boy sees you and is just like, "Oh, okay, well, I'm gonna take what I want," and that can mess with you mentally. And I honestly think that's why Tasha's behavior was the way that it was because of the psychological and emotional damage. When you have to deal with sexual abuse, it takes a toll on you, especially when it happens multiple times and you're in your adolescent years and you're still confused as to what's going on with your body, but you know that this is wrong. Like, that what's happening to you should not be happening to you. It really takes a toll on you, especially when it happens multiple times. And God only knows how her mother handled it if she even, knew about it. But after those incidents, Tasha just really started wilding out after that. Like, she was fighting a lot and catching a lot of battery charges to the point that she had even gotten a warrant for her arrest. And she was only like 16 years old at the time that she had that warrant. But, she was out there doing her thing, damn near with no repercussions. Her mom was always at work. So she was out there smoking, drinking, hanging out with boys. One boy in particular was this guy named Rico Sandifer. Now, there's not much on Rico other than the fact that he was somebody that Tasha was messing around with. Like, I don't know if they were actually in a relationship or not, but things definitely were moving fast for the two of them. And, so fast that Tasha found out while she was messing with him and a couple of other boys, she finds out that she's pregnant and she believes that it's by Rico. And, she tells him, and, he's not really too happy about it. In fact, he kind of like disappears altogether. And so, she goes and tells her mom in like the early area of like 1996. She goes to her mom and she's like, "Hey, mom, listen, I know you may not want to hear this, but I'm pregnant and the baby's going to be here in like May." And, Dolores is shocked because she's like, "What the fuck? Like, we talked about this. You're supposed to be using protection. Like, how could you be so careless? You're not ready for no child. You're a child yourself." But at the end of the day, she couldn't really do anything about it because she's knocked up. So Dolores, she does what she can and she tells Tasha, "Well, All right, I guess we gonna figure this thing out. And Dolores prepares herself to become a grandma. Now, see, back then it was a lot easier to be a teen mom because it was kind of one of those things where your mom had to help you. Like now, you can be a teen mama if you want to, and your mama gonna put you out quicker than all of Evan Lozada's exes. Okay, child, you gonna be out there raising your baby on the streets. Like back in the day, oh, mama helped you take care of the baby, because it was like if she didn't, she was the bad mom, and 9 times out of 10 they were probably embarrassed because their young daughter out here fucking around and getting pregnant and all of that. Now you go to your mama and you a teen mama and be like, "Oh, I'm pregnant." She gonna be like, "Oh, okay, yeah, get the fuck up out my house." Because 9 times out of 10, she's still in her party phase and she ain't trying to raise no more babies neither. But Dolores, she starts looking for doctors and everything so that way she can make sure that her grandbaby is, born with everything that he or she is gonna need. Now, y'all, for the life of me, I tried to find more information on Rico Sandifer, but outside of the fact that, now he's a rapper that lives in California, homie is Casper. Kind of just like he was then, because he definitely dipped. And it might be a good thing because it seems like he really dodged a bullet. I'm just saying. And it didn't seem like he was around for Tasha's pregnancy either. So, Tasha isn't going to let that get her down. She's excited, she's about to have her baby. Now, I'm sorry, but mama going to have to ask some questions like, where the hell is the baby daddy the whole time? Like, we about to be pulling up to this nigga's crib. You're not about to just skirt off and leave your responsibilities. You got my daughter pregnant. Oh, no, you're going to be involved. Like, nah, you got to answer some questions and give some explanations, pimping, because that's not how this works. But, be that as it may, Tasha goes through this pregnancy and, she's preparing for her little one. Her and her mama, they went and they got an ultrasound and, she's buying stuff for her little nugget. And on April 27th, 1996, Tasha wakes up and she's just like in really excruciating pain. And so she goes to her mom and she's like, "Mom, something's wrong. Like I'm hurting. It hurts." And her mama, she know what it is because hell, she gave birth to her. She know what that means. She's like, "Yep, okay, my baby in labor." So her mama gets up and she grabs her to go bag and her hospital bag, and they head on out towards the hospital. And when they get to Kaiser Hospital, they're getting checked in and everything, and they're both really excited. Dolores is like, "Oh, I'm about to be a grandma." And Tasha's like, "Yes, finally, a baby, somebody for me to love. I'm about to be a mommy." And so, they check her in and everything, and the nurse starts doing the examination of Tasha. And one of the things that they do, of course, is an ultrasound. And so all of a sudden, like while they're doing it, the nurse is looking at the screen and she's confused, And at first she's like, "Okay, you know what? Wait a minute. I'm gonna just double check this." And so she starts looking again at the screen. And I mean, Shotty Girl is doing a thorough ultrasound. And her face is just frowned up. And of course, Tasha's seeing this. She's noticing it. Hell, her mama is noticing it. And they're both like, "Okay, what's the problem?" And so the nurse is looking and she sees this young girl and she's like, "Miss Brown, you know what? I'm gonna go get the doctor." And of course, Tasha's fearful. She's crying. She's like, "What's wrong? Is my baby okay? Please tell me my baby's okay." And the nurse just looks at her and she says, "Tasha, I'm sorry, but there's no baby." Baby, Tasha's not trying to hear that at all. Like, "What you mean there's no baby?" Like, she's looking at her like, "Yo, you out your mind. Are you serious? Of course there's a baby. Look at me. I'm pregnant." And the nurse, she knows there's no baby in her, and she's just like, "Okay, it's better if I just go get the doctor. Just hold tight. Let me go get the doctor." And so the nurse leaves the room and she grabs a doctor by the name of Daniel Oliver. And he comes in and he does an ultrasound himself to kind of, confirm what the nurse's suspicions were. And he looks at Tasha and he tells her, "Tasha, I'm so sorry, but you're not pregnant." And Tasha and her mama are both confused. Like her mama stands up and she ready to pop off at this doctor. She's just like, "How can she not be pregnant? I am looking at her. She's big as hell. She's pregnant. Not to mention, I've got the ultrasound. We got an ultrasound of the baby." And she pulls that ultrasound out of her purse and she shows it to him. And he looks at it, he picks it and he takes it and he looks and he was like, "Well, I don't know where you got this from, but this ain't it because Tasha's not pregnant." And at this point, it's gone from sadness to like rage. Tasha is pissed. No, you got it wrong. Look at me. I'm pregnant. I know I'm pregnant. You can see I'm pregnant. And the doctor, he's kind of a little bit of an asshole about it, just a little bit, because he was like, "Look, just because you look pregnant, don't mean that you are. It's plenty of people out here that look pregnant and they ain't." That's low key a little, shady, but yeah. But anyway, so at this point, Tasha and her mom, they're upset. Tasha's crying. She's hysterical at this point, and Dolores is trying to calm her down. She's trying to comfort her. And, Tasha's just crying to her mama. She's like, "I know I'm pregnant, mama. I'm pregnant. Like this can't be for real. Where's my baby? I know I'm pregnant. Where's my baby?" And Dolores is just dumbfounded because she's like, "We've been prepping for this baby all this time. I've watched my daughter's stomach growing," She's like, "No, she has to be pregnant." And now she's being told that she's not. Like, she's having what they call a phantom pregnancy, and it's crazy. And, now all they can do is just go home and act like, nothing ever happened. Now, I'm wondering if they offered some type of therapy for her because, Tasha really wanted to be a mother. She really wanted that baby. She really wanted the opportunity to have somebody to love and to take care of her. And I think it was because of the things that, she endured in the sexual assault. She really wanted something that was hers that she felt like she could care for and love and protect, like that shit is crazy. Like, if you really think about it, you go a whole 9 months thinking that you're pregnant. You going through the emotions of pregnancy, you're planning baby showers and buying stuff, and you having all these labor pains and cravings and all of that. And you're literally in pain to the point that you think you're in labor. You go to the hospital for them just to tell you that you were never pregnant. Like, imagine the psychological damage that that does to you. She's depressed like real bad. Like, she's thinking about all the times that she felt like she didn't have anybody and how she was going to protect her baby. She's thinking about how she wanted to love on her baby and hold her baby and take care of him or her. She's thinking about how she had been sexually abused and how nobody was there for her to protect her, and she wanted something of her own that she could take care of and protect like nothing in this world. And it just made her sink deep into this depression. And Tasha starts drinking and, just doing everything wrong. And her mom, she tried to be there for her, but she still has to work and pay bills. She still has to maintain the household. Yes, she's upset that, her daughter wasn't actually pregnant because she had gotten used to the idea of being a grandmother, but now she has to go back to reality and be an adult. Meanwhile, Tasha's out here just slipping further into the abyss. And I'm talking about getting pissy drunk every night. She's starting to do hard drugs. She's hanging around her cousin, Oceanetta Williams. Y'all, oh Lord, I'm gonna go to hell. Oceanetta, she looked like she should be named that. That girl looked like a Google moose. Like, she got some strong facial features for real. So it makes sense that that's her name. But I digress. But the two of them are hanging out all the time and they getting into shit. And then on the other side of town, you've got Lathan, aka Young Lay, and his girl Daphne. Lathan Williams was born in 1975, and he was also born in Vallejo, California. Now, he had a solid 5 years on Tasha. See, then it was acceptable to be older. Today, not so much, because homie was like out of high school. Tasha was still in high school. But he was another youngster that, had a lot going on. See, he was a very popular rapper who was working with a lot of different artists like Ray Love, Mac Dre, and even Tupac. Like, that's some dope ass shit to be working with the legendary Pac. Yo, you got to be hot. Now, Lathan went by the stage name Young Let, and he had his fair share of trouble. He definitely brought attention to himself, and it wasn't necessarily always for the better. When he was about 20 years old, he was with his boy, and they were driving around and they got caught up at this stoplight. And this car pulls up, and this guy hops out and he's trying to jack Lay and his boy. And he's telling him, "Yo, give me your money, give me your jewelry," all of that. And Lay's homie, he tries to pull off, which was probably the dumbest thing to do at the time. But when it happened, unfortunately, much like Pac and Biggie, somebody opens fire and Young Lay gets shot in the head. Yes, he got shot in the head and he survived. And Lay's boy, he freaking out because like he just watched his boy get shot in the head. But they rush him to the hospital and he's in a coma for a good little minute. Like they didn't really think he was gonna make it because I mean he was in a coma for a couple of weeks. But by the grace of God, young Lay survives. But he does have to go through a lot of different therapies and all of that because the shooting left him with some brain damage, and he had to learn how to speak and all of that all over again, like the basic things that we take for granted. But he managed to get through it, and if anything, for lack of better words, it attracted the bitches to him because he was still out there laying the pipe. Okay. So things are really looking up for him. He's getting out of the hospital and he's got his debut album that's about to drop, Black and Dangerous, which was supposed to drop in 1996. And everyone is, ready for this album to drop, especially since he had Pac on there because Pac had a feature. And y'all know that kind of really gave him a boost. Like, I mean, duh, it's Pac, so of course. But, he had other areas of his life that was going on too. Outside of his debut album, he had his girl, Daphne Boyden, and the baby that she was carrying. Daphne Marie Boyden was born June 27th, 1978, in Vallejo, California, to Frida Lynn Hayes Boyden. Now, she was also a few years younger than young Lay, but not by too much. She attended Hogan High School with Tasha as well, but the two of them were in different grades. She had met Young Lay, and the two of them were, really feeling each other. Again, Young Lay is out of high school at this point, but he fucking with high school girls, okay? He wanted her and he spit his game and she fell head over heels in love with him. So much so that she got pregnant. She went to lay and she was like, "Baby, I don't know how to tell you, but I'm pregnant." She's young. She's 17. Well, at the time that she got pregnant, she was 16, much like Tasha. But Lay is ready. He was like, "Damn, you pregnant? Hi, man. I guess we're gonna be some parents then." And, during this time, her mom felt like it would be better for Daphne to go and live with her grandmother, Reva Bowden. Now, Reva was real hands on. So, her mother knew that it was best. That way, Daphne could have extra help, especially since, she was still in high school. And her mother was very clear. She was like, "Listen, just because you got this baby coming, don't mean nothing. You gon' finish high school, baby or not. Okay." So Daphne is living with her grandmother, and young Lay, he's out there doing his thing, and his album was supposed to drop in June of 1996, but he got an even bigger gift before then, because on May 15th, 1996, Daphne calls him and she tells him, "Hey, I'm in labor." And they go to the hospital and they welcome their first child together, a son that they named LaJean Williams. Okay, listen, the spelling threw the fuck out of me. It's like Lezhon, like yeah. The baby got a dash in his name, but okay. But anyway, Daphne, she's elated. She's got a beautiful baby boy and he's healthy. Her grandmother is there to help her take care of the baby. Her baby daddy is not only there to help her, but he's popular. He's about to drop an album. So Daphne, she's happier than she's ever been. 17 years old and she got all of this, like her life is really together. And, everybody in the neighborhood that knows young Lay and knows her, they know she just had this baby and they're waiting on Lay's album to drop. People are treating her like she the hood princess. Folks are coming by, they're dropping off gifts and, trying to see the baby and everything. And Daphne is loving all this attention that she's getting. Who said that having a baby in high school will be the end all be all? Clearly it ain't, because since then, look at all the stuff that's happened. You got Teen Mom, where they're practically glorifying 16-year-olds getting pregnant. You got Teen Mom, you got 16 and pregnant, all of this. They doing spinoffs and stuff. Hell, Teen Mom ain't even teenagers no more. They done had they shit. We've been watching them since they were 16 and pregnant. Now they grown ass adults and damn near in their 40s, or are in their 40s, and they still on TV. So I mean, hey, clearly they glorifying teenagers getting pregnant now, but go off. So, Daphne's in bliss, but Tasha is in misery. She's hanging out with her cousin Oceanetta one day, and okay, hold on, pause. I'ma call her Cuzzo because I hate saying that name. Like, it's just, if your name is Oceanetta, like, I'm sorry, but just wow. Like, y'all couldn't have thought of nothing else to name this baby but Oceanetta. Yeah, she gonna be called Cuzzo the rest of this episode. So Cuzzo mentions about how Daphne has had her baby, and she's like, "Girl, you remember that nigga Lay that you used to fuck with? You know him and his girl just had a baby." And hearing that, it's just devastating to Tasha because she's supposed to be the one who had a baby. Not to mention, she had fucked with Lay and she was feeling him. But, to him, she was just a smash because he chose to be with Daphne and have a baby with her. And in Tasha's mind, that baby was supposed to be hers. She's thinking, man, fuck Daphne. She got what was supposed to be mine. And she just starts talking crazy to her cousin. She's telling Cuzzo, fuck her. That bitch needs to die. She the reason why I don't have my baby. Fuck that bitch. I want to see her burn. I want to burn her fucking house down. And Cuzzo, she's not really thinking anything of it at first. She's just like, girl, you crazy. Like, what's wrong with you? Like, literally, she kind of like shrugged it off. I'm sorry, but ain't no way in the entire hell I'm gonna laugh some shit like that off. Like, if a bitch tells me that she wants to burn another person's house down, woo, bitch, let me remove myself because I am not gonna be testifying against your ass in court. Or at the very least, I'm gonna call your mama, okay? And I'm gonna be like, yo, y'all need to get this bitch some help because she over here losing her motherfucking mind. Like, how could you possibly think that she was joking? There was so much maliciousness and hate in her voice when she said it. And she kept harping on it too. That's the thing. She made it clear. She was like, I want to kill this bitch every time Cuzzo mentioned him. And one day Tasha tells her cousin, yo, I'm not playing. I want her dead. I want to kill her. I want to burn her house down and I need your help. And for whatever reason, her cousin says that she gonna help her. So May 17th, 1996, they're sitting on a park bench. Tasha is high as usual, drunk off her ass, and she's still thinking about Daphne and the baby. And so she devises a plan. She tells her cousin, look, we gonna go over there and we gonna act like we going to see the baby and going to see her. Now remember, I told y'all that Tasha and Daphne went to high school together and they were both in different grades. Tasha was younger than Daphne, but they knew each other. Tasha knew that Daphne would be happy to see her because hell, everybody had been coming by. And Tasha's thinking, okay, we gonna go, we gonna act like we gonna go see the baby, and then we gonna kill that bitch. And Cuzzo agrees. She's trying to convince herself, okay, once she see the baby, she gonna quit tripping. But Tasha was serious, like dead serious. The two take the bus over to Daphne's grandmother's house at 124 Round Street, and Tasha's ready. Now, the baby at this time is roughly about 4 weeks old. And like I said, they both had their babies kind of around the same time. I'm sorry. Let me rephrase that. Daphne had her baby, and Tasha was supposed to have her baby around the same time. But by the time Tasha found out that she was never pregnant, Daphne's baby was around, 3 to 4 weeks old. So they get on the bus and they head over to Reva's house. Now, Reva, although she's helping Daphne with the baby, she still got, her own thing. And Reva decides, all right, I'm gonna go to the bingo hall and go play some bingo with the church members. And y'all know how black folks are. They don't play about their bingo. That's like the club. When it comes to the elderly, baby, bingo is like the club. Okay. So she's literally about to leave when Tasha and her cousin walk up with this gym bag. And people been popping in and out of the house for the last few weeks. So Reva's not really thinking anything of it. And they get there and Tasha plays it cool. And she was like, "Hey, Miss Williams, it's good to see you. Is Daphne home? We just wanted to hang out with her for a little bit. We got a present for the baby." Which to Reva, that explains why Tasha had this duffel bag with her. And so Reva, she tells her, "Yeah, baby, go on inside. She's in there with the baby. The baby sleeps, so keep it down now." And they agree and they go inside. And Daphne sees them and she's excited, of course. And she's like, "Hey, girl, what's up?" And Tasha and her cousin, they sitting back and they talk for a few minutes and they chopping it up and everything. "So, girl, how you doing? How's being a new mom? How's the labor and all of that?" And the whole time, Tasha is just looking at baby Lejean, and she's just fascinated with him. Like, he's beautiful, he's small, and he's tiny. He's got that new baby smell that's like baby lotion and placenta. He's all scrunched up and everything and wrapped and swaddled. And Tasha's just thinking, this should be my life right now. This should be me. I should be the one basking in the new baby and having everyone visiting me, but she got to play it cool. So they spend a few more minutes talking. And then Tasha just all of a sudden says, "All right, girl, well, we got to get ready to go. We just kind of wanted to drop by." And Daphne, she's happy that they came by. She was like, "Oh, thank y'all for coming to see me." Poor baby. She's so unsuspecting of everything. And Tasha goes to act like she's going to go hug Daphne because Daphne is sitting on the couch. She's feeding the baby. So when Tasha leans down for a hug, all of a sudden you hear pop, pop, and Tasha backs up and Daphne is covered in blood. Cuzzo sees it and she's like, What the hell just happened?" And Daphne drops her baby while she's bleeding out, dying. Cuzzo's screaming and carrying on, and she's like, oh my God, what did you do? What did you do?" She sees the baby on the ground and the baby's crying from the fall. So she picks the baby up. And while she does that, Tasha grabs this acetone out of her bag. And it's basically, nail polish remover for those of y'all that don't know. So she starts pouring it on Daphne, and then she grabs a match, she lights it, and then throws it on Daphne. So, on top of shooting her twice, she sets her on fire. Tasha's crying, Cuzzo's crying. They got this baby. Daphne is sitting before them dead and burning. So they do the only thing that they can think of and they just run. They run out of the house and Reva's next door neighbor, she sees them and she's like, "What the hell is going on over there?" Now she had seen them when they came in and she thought that, it was a little odd that Tasha had that devil bag with her. But at the time she didn't really say anything because she didn't know for sure. But, she sees the two girls running from the house. And while she's trying to pay attention to them, she's noticing that the house is smoking up real bad. And she realizes it's a fire. She was like, "Oh, Lord, it's a fire. It's a fire. Oh, my God." And she's thinking, "Oh, shit, I got to help." So she grabs a garden hose and she's trying to put the fire out with that. And people are coming outside. They're hearing the yelling and everything. They're starting to see what's going on. And the neighbors yelling, "Hey, somebody call 911, call 911." And so somebody does call 911 and the firefighters, they come out and they start to extinguish the fire. And the neighbors are telling them, "It's a teenage girl in there. She just had her baby. Y'all got to go find her." And the fire department, they get to work. They go inside the house and they're extinguishing the flames. And immediately they see Daphne because she's still on the couch. And they can confirm, okay, we got one victim, but where's the baby? Now, while they're looking for Lejean, somebody has called the church at this point to get Reva, and they're telling her, "Hey, Sister Williams, you need to get home because your house is on fire." And she hears that, "Oh, Lord, my house is on fire. Oh, my God." So she goes running home, and when she pulls up, sure enough, her house is on fire. and she's beside herself. She's crying and screaming and telling them, "Hey, my grandbaby's in there. She got my great grandbaby. Y'all got to go save him." And the firefighters have to tell her, "Ma'am, we found your granddaughter, but I'm sorry to tell you she's dead." And Reva is just devastated. "What? What do you mean she's dead? No, I just left her. She was fine. She was taking care of the baby. What am I going to tell her mama? Oh my God, where is the baby? Where's the baby? Where's Lijon?" And they're looking around and they're like, "Ma'am, we don't know where the baby is. We can't find the baby at all. We looked in there. That baby's not in there. Are you sure the baby was in there?" And this sounds foreign to Reva because she knows that there's no way that that baby's not in there. He's only 4 weeks old. So she starts thinking to herself, like, okay, well, where could the baby be? Did somebody come and get the baby? Like, I know it couldn't have been Lathan. I know that baby was there. Now, while this is going on, Tasha and her cousin are at the bus stop waiting on the bus to get there with the baby in the damn duffel bag. It's June and you got the baby in a duffel bag. What the fuck is wrong with you? It's not clothes. And you put the baby in there with a gun, you idiot. This is where I start to think,
No, you done fucked up, right? No, 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 no. You know you done fucked up, right?
baby, ain't no way in hell you thinking you gonna be a good mommy when you put a newborn baby in a fucking duffel bag with a loaded gun. Now, although it's a newborn baby and the baby probably don't have the strength to pull the trigger, you just don't do certain shit. Like putting a baby in a hot ass duffel bag in hot ass June in California. Like tonight's fair foul is gonna be one for the books, baby, because the way I'm gonna read her dumb ass. So anyway, they take the bus to her cousin's house because Tasha know damn well she can't take this baby home. And when she gets to her cousin's house, Cuzzo's family is there and they're excited. They think this girl, Tasha, actually had a baby. And I mean, she still got some of this weight on her, of course, from where she thought she was pregnant. So I guess it's possible. But this is where I'm curious as to how the fuck her cousin never told anybody that Tasha wasn't actually pregnant or that she didn't have a baby because they think this is Tasha's baby. They're looking at her and they oohing and eyeing and they, "Ooh, you had the baby. Oh my God, he's so cute. Ooh, how was it? Were you in a lot of pain? How you didn't tell us that you was in labor?" Like all of these questions are being asked. And Tasha, she beaming, she happy. She's telling lie after lie after lie. "Oh, it was so hard. I was in a lot of pain, but my little one is here and he's worth it." And Cuzzo's sitting there not saying shit. So at one point, Tasha's like, "Hey, y'all go ahead and enjoy the baby. I need to take a minute. I'm a little tired." And they go to Cuzzo's room and immediately they're crying and they stripping their clothes off because remember, they have Daphne's blood on them. So, they're trying to clean themselves up. They're hugging each other and consoling each other. "It's okay. It's okay." And they hang out in Cuzzo's room for about another hour or so before Tasha's mom comes to pick her up. And when she comes in, she sees Tasha holding this baby, and she's kinda, like, taken back a little bit. She was like, who baby is this?" Now I'm assuming that all them folks at Cuzzo's house was gone because Tasha tells her, "Oh, well, this is my friend's baby. I'm just babysitting for a friend. That's all." Now, Dolores ain't stupid. She was there with her in the hospital, so she knows Tasha ain't got no baby. And again, I'm sitting here wondering where were all of these people in the house because how the fuck nobody else heard her mama ask whose baby that was, and she gave a completely different answer other than mine. But I digress. So they get in the car and they get ready to leave, but Dolores tells her, "Listen, whoever baby that is, you need to give it back because that baby is too small to be away from their mama that long." And Tasha tells her, "Yes, ma'am, no problem." So they go home and Tasha takes the baby to her room while her mama gets ready to go to work. And when Dolores goes to work, Tasha decides to contact her grandmother who lives all the way in Waco, Texas. And she asks her, "Hey, grandma, I miss you. I was thinking I just need to get away. And I was wondering, can I come visit?" And her grandma was like, "Yeah, baby, come on." So Tasha packs her some clothes. She gets this baby and she goes all the way to Texas to visit her grandma. She gets the fuck out of Dodge quick. All the while her mama is at work, not knowing that her daughter done packed up and pieced out. She took that baby, or rather Daphne's baby, and catches a Greyhound bus from Vallejo, California to Waco, Texas. What in the entire fuck? Now, when Dolores comes home from work, she's thinking, okay, Tasha's going to be there and not have the baby, and, she can have a conversation with her. But when she gets home, Tasha ain't there. And so she goes to check her room and all her shit is gone. And Dolores is thinking, where the hell is my child? Now, remember, this is back in the 90s, so they don't have cell phones and all of that. So while Dolores is looking for Tasha, Tasha is at her grandma's house. And her grandma is beside herself when she sees Tasha with this baby. She is just gushing. Oh my goodness, he's so cute. And of course, she's asking her child, what's the baby's name? And Tasha tells her proudly, his name is Shay Brown. And Tasha's grandma, she's just beside herself because, she gets to spoil this baby right. And she's like, well, baby, you get settled in. I'm going to help take care of y'all the best I can. She was pretty much just, just like Daphne's grandmother, Reva. And Tasha's feeling some peace for once. And she can finally relax. She even called her cousin and was like, girl, why don't you come down here for a visit? And her cousin is thinking, word, come to Texas? Hell yeah. So she comes down to Texas and they kicking it. They having fun. Tasha's able to do her thing. She ain't got to answer to nobody. Her mama is looking for her, which is crazy to me. It's insane to me because does this family not talk? Like, how the fuck is her daughter in Texas all this time at her grandma's house and nobody knows it? Like, if Cuzzo is her cousin, why not talk to her cousin? You came to her house to pick her up. You saw that she had this baby. At no point did you ever think, hey, let me ask her cousin. Or at no point did you ever think, hey, let me call my mama and tell her what's going on. So that way you could find out when your mama tells you, oh no, baby, she here. Or hell, at any point did the grandma say, you know what? Let me call my daughter and let her know that my grandbaby is here with my great grandbaby. Like, this is the most non communicating family, I swear to God. But be that as it may, Tasha and her cousin, they're doing the thing in Texas, but Tasha's grandma is fed up with her. Like, I mean, every time she turn around, they up to some bullshit. They drinking up all of her liquor. They in there smoking weed and stuff. And, Tasha, she's taking care of baby Shay, but Cuzzo is a bad influence. And her grandmother, she got in their ass. She was like, listen, you ain't gotta go home, but you got to get the hell up out of here. Baby, grandma had enough. Okay. And so Tasha ends up moving in with her aunt, who was also living in Texas. And Tasha creates another story. I had this baby and this guy, my baby daddy, he was beating on me real bad and he was kicking my ass and stuff and I just couldn't deal with it. And I mean, I had my baby and mama threw me out and I'm here and I don't even know what to do. Like, I can't even go to the hospital. Shay don't even have a birth certificate. And her auntie falls for it hook, line, and sinker. And she's just like, baby, it's okay. Don't worry about it. I'm gonna get it taken care of for you. And I'm wondering how the fuck she did that because she didn't have proof of birth from California at all. But, go off. So it's a few months later, around October of 1996, and Tasha calls her mama, finally. And she says, hey, Ma, guess what? I'm in Texas. Can you come down here to Auntie's house? I want to see you. I have a surprise for you. Now, remember, she killed Daphne in June. Okay. June. She calls her mama in October. Just remember that, y'all. Keep that in the back of your in your back of your memory. Just keep that little tidbit in mind, okay? She killed Daphne in June. It's October, okay? A 4-month difference. Just keep that in mind. All right. So she calls her mama, hey ma, come visit me in Texas. And Dolores is happy, she's happy that her daughter is alive. She's at peace with that. And I mean, granted, yes, she's pissed because her daughter just ran off. But, she goes down there and Tasha tells her mama, Oh, this is where shit gets funny. Tasha tells her mama, "Guess what? I got pregnant again and I had another baby. This time it's real." You see why I said keep that shit in mind? Because the math ain't mathing. Tasha found out April of 1996 that she was pregnant. Okay. Lejean was born in May of 1996. I'm sorry, Tasha found out in January of 96 when she thought she was pregnant and was supposed to be due in May. Lejean was born in May of 1996. It's now October. That's only 5 months. LaJean was 5 months old. How the hell could she possibly have gotten pregnant and had another baby is beyond me. Shit, she didn't realize that this baby looks just like the one that she was babysitting. How the hell Dolores didn't pick up on that is beyond me. But again, okay. So she gets there. Tasha gives her the birth certificate that her auntie helped her get, and she's excited. She was like, "See, here you go." This got to be the dumbest mama on the planet because Dolores believed her. Yeah. She smiles and she tells her, "Well, y'all can't stay here, baby. Y'all need to come home with me so I can help take care of y'all." What the fuck? This girl got the IQ of a fruit fly. Like she make a wall look smart. I'm telling y'all. When I was doing the research and I saw this, I was like, how? How did she not calculate this? Mm, mm, mm. So she takes her and the baby and they move back to Vallejo, California. And when I say they were so close to Daphne's old house, they were literally within 3 miles of where Daphne lived. Time is going on and Tasha's raising baby Shay like nothing happened. He's getting bigger, he's growing up, all of that. He said his first word, which was mama, of course. He's hitting all his milestone and Tasha, she feels like she did right. Yeah, murdering his mother was totally right. But in a way, stealing the baby, it did actually make her turn her life around because she stopped drinking and doing drugs and all of that. And she actually became a real mom to baby Shay. She started going to church, all of that. And her mom is elated. Like she's just happy. She's telling everybody, listen, my daughter is getting her life together. She is a child of God. She's such a great mom. But on the other side of town, not even really the other side of town, a few miles away, Lathan's life is falling apart. He still doesn't know where his son Lejean is. He's still trying to find his kid, not knowing that his kid is literally, just feet away. Daphne's family, they're devastated because they've lost her. They don't know where the baby is. They're hosting memorials and all kind of stuff, trying to get Lejean to come back safe to them. And Lathan goes as far as going on the Maury Povich show and like bringing attention to his son. And I was a little surprised with that one because y'all know Maury is known for being the "You Are Not the Father" show. Like, I can't even remember the last time I saw an episode of the Maury Povich show that didn't have anything to do with, people that had them weird ass phobias or the "You Are Not the Father" show or the "My Kid is whooping my ass" show. But I digress. Now, as time is going on, young Lay is, still doing his music career and everything. And in 1998, he released his second album called Unsolved Mysteries, which he dedicated to his son and Daphne. And he even mentioned him in the intro, which was, pretty dope. The cops, they know whoever took Lejean is also the same one that killed Daphne. Like, it doesn't take a genius to figure that out, but they literally have no leads. So the search for him, it kind of dwindles a bit. Lejean's family is posting articles and whatnot in the newspaper, but it's not getting as much traction as it once did when he first disappeared. And then another devastating blow happens. Lathan, aka Young Lay, he gets arrested for armed robbery and sentenced to 12 years in prison. Like he's got to hear about all of this while he's locked up. Now, my suspicion is that Cuzzo was starting to feel guilty about her cousin kidnapping that baby and murdering that girl, especially since they ain't as tight as they used to be now that, Tasha done found God and all. But all of a sudden, in 2002, like towards the end of the year, the police get an anonymous tip that tells them, "Hey, I think I know where baby LaJean is. Go see LaTasha Brown. She live with her mama, and that baby that she got ain't hers." So the cops go to her house, but Tasha's not there. Like, I don't know if this bitch had ESP or what, but she dipped. They go to the school where Shay is supposed to be enrolled, but he's already gone. And Shay was very active in school. He was a student, he was playing sports there, all of that. He was very involved. It's not like Tasha was hiding him. But again, maybe this bitch had ESP, who knows? But her and that baby was gone. Okay. It's now December 6th, 2002, and Tasha, who has turned her life around for the sake of her son, she gets caught trying to get on a Greyhound bus with her mama going God only knows where. So the cops stop them from taking off, but they see baby Shay ain't with her. So they take her and Dolores in and they start doing their investigation and they find out that Tasha never had a baby. LeJean is 6 years old at this time. So the cops, they're trying to figure out, okay, whose child is this? But, Tasha's adamant. That is my son. What are you talking about? I birthed him. Because remember, her mama seems to think that this was some type of miraculous conception and some type of rapid ass pregnancy. Maybe she had true blood pregnancy or whatever, where she was pregnant for 2 seconds and then birthed a baby. Who knows? But anyway, Tasha was adamant. She's like, "This is my baby. This is my son. I birthed him." And the cops ain't backing down. They were like, "Okay, well, if you birthed him, where is he?" And she tells them, "Oh, well, one of my friends took him to Vegas," which of course is some bullshit. But then it gets interesting because Cuzzo's names get put in the mix and they go to her and she starts singing like Alicia Keys. Baby, she told them everything that they needed to put Tasha behind bars. On December 6th, 2002, LaTasha and her mama Dolores both get arrested by the Vallejo, California Police Department. They find out where LaJean is and they put him in protective custody because they don't know who he is just yet, but they kind of got that hunch like, okay, this is Daphne's missing son. So they do a DNA test and they compare it to the DNA of Daphne. And once they get the confirmation, they contact Reva and they say, "Hey, we got your grandson." So, of course, she's running down to the precinct and she finds out that her grandson has been living a few miles from her the entire time. Okay, again, I gotta ask, did nobody look at this baby? Could y'all not see Lay or Daphne in this child? Because again, Tasha didn't hide him. This baby was in plain sight. Y'all live less than 3 miles from each other. Y'all had to bump into each other at the store or something. Y'all had to at one point see each other, be it in the neighborhood, at a function. Somehow I'm pretty sure that she saw this kid. Like at no point in time did you look at this baby. I mean, I've heard that kids start to look like whoever they're around because, he blended right on in with the other kids in the neighborhood. And, Daphne's grandmother, she's pissed off. She was like, "They've been here this whole time. I've been looking at my grandbaby all this time and not knowing that it was him." And so now they're doing more into the investigation and they're looking more into Tasha and they're finding out exactly what went down. They find out how she took care of baby LeJean. And, they're like, "Okay, well, she seems to have been a good mom to the boy. So we got to give her credit for that." They're looking into the people in her life. Her landlord was telling the cops how good of a tenant she was and all of that. Like, they're making her sound good. And people at Dolores's job, they're talking about how, Dolores loved being a grandma to that baby. She was such a great grandmother. She was so great with baby Shay. She showed pictures of him all the time. She bragged on him. He was her little man. I bet she did. But they got to find out what happened because they know Tasha had something to do with Daphne's death. So they start asking her questions and she completely feigns ignorance. She was like, I don't really remember much about, Daphne's murder or anything like that. And so they switch it up a little bit. They were like, "Well, how'd you get her baby?" Y'all, she tells them, "I mean, it was just a blessing from God." I guess it was just kind of a dark point in my life and I blacked out at that time. All I remember was I was on the bus to Texas and I looked down and this beautiful baby was in my arms. It was magic. One of the detectives in the room, Detective Darden, he's looking at her like, yo, this bitch is batshit crazy. But he figures out a way to get her to crack. See, he knows she loves Lazan so much. And, she credits him for her turning her life around. So he says, okay, tell you what, why don't you write a letter to your son explaining to him what you're feeling? And at first she was like, you want me to what? But it worked. He gave her some pen and paper and he leaves her alone. And Tasha sits there for a minute and she's in her thoughts, but she starts writing. And the letter that she wrote, I will admit, it was heartbreaking and touching. And, it really showed a different side of her. So I'm going to read y'all this letter. I'm sorry that this happened. I think about all the beautiful people in my life that I'm going to miss. I think about how sad everybody is or how poor her grandmother felt. Nobody really cares what happens to me, and neither do I. I'm truly sorry that this happened. No words can change what was done, but look how many lives were changed by this. Everybody thinks I'm cold and heartless, but only you really know me. All I wanted was to be a mommy, and now I never will. I can imagine how they will beat me in prison and slander my family's name. I know that what happened can't be undone, so now I have to find a way to take full blame so everybody can live happy lives. I tried to say I was alone, but the truth about Oceanetta being there came out. What do I do? I need your mercy, Lord God. For the rest of my life, I will be away from Shay. I know he will never forgive me and hate me. I never wanted that boy to suffer. I pray that I have at least one chance to hug him. I'm so sorry, Lord. Now, where do we go from here? I wish I could just wake up and it would all go away, but it won't. My head hurts. My body is tired. I just want to rest. I've never had joy besides Shay, and now I never will. I'm tired of talking. My stomach is aching. I know this is the end for me. Just be with me. This is probably the most human I've seen Tasha be throughout this episode. I mean, she evolved as baby LeJean got older and she turned into a good mother, even though, she didn't birth him biologically. But in that moment, she had the opportunity to be human and be vulnerable. And she did just that. Like, I really hate it for that baby because he's rocked to his foundation. Like, this is the only mother that he's known. And now he's being told, hey, we got to take you to a whole new family, your actual family, and he can't even, be reunited with Lathan because he's in prison for another 8 years until his release in 2010. Luckily, he was able to, be placed with Lay's family. So once they get this letter from Tasha and they realize that Cuzzo is also a part of things, they go and they arrest her too. Now, they kind of compared the description of them that the neighbor had given 6 years ago to the two girls that came running out of the house. And they look at the two of them because, the neighbor had a very good description. She was like, this is what they look like. This is who I saw coming up out of the house. And then they look at Tasha and Cuzzo now and they were like, yep, that's them. They realized those were the two women that they were looking for. And luckily, Cuzzo's smart. She already knows that she's caught, so she decides, I'm not even going to waste anybody's time. I'm just going to plead guilty for voluntary manslaughter. And she does, which is great for the prosecution because now they can use her to testify against her cousin, which is exactly what she does. Y'all, I'm noticing that there are so many episodes that I am doing where the family is flipping so fucking fast. Like, it don't take them long at all. You barely sneeze, and the family's like, I'll tell it what you need to know. Like, damn. But, they charged Dolores, Tasha's mama, with child concealment. And I mean, I'm not surprised. Like, come on, man. You knew that this wasn't her baby. You ain't stupid. And honestly, I think deep down, Dolores really did know that there was no way that this could be, her child's baby. But once she saw that her daughter had turned things around and the changes that she was making for the better, she just decided, you know what? I'm going to just go with it. Now, as to why it never clicked in her mind that the baby that had been missing all this time from Daphne could possibly be the one that her daughter had is beyond me because that baby was all over the news. But She gets the lightest of the charges out of all of them. She's charged with child concealment and she ends up pleading no contest. So she has to serve a year and pay restitution. But now Tasha's got to get ready for trial, and the cards are stacked against her because she's got her own cousin that's going to testify against her. And on top of that, the prosecution has all this evidence. May 13th, 2004, Tasha goes to trial. She had 8 women and 4 men that sat on the jury. Her defense attorney was Bill Pendergast. Teddy Pendergast. I'm sorry. Okay. His argument was going to be that Tasha really wanted a baby, and after learning that her pregnancy wasn't real, she just blacked out and wasn't in her right frame of mind when she did what she did. So basically, he was going to use the insanity plea. He had medical professionals get on the stand and testify that when Tasha found out that she wasn't really pregnant, she was suffering from pseudocysis, which basically was her thinking, okay, hey, I was supposed to have a child. This is the child, but it was born to someone else. And that's why she killed Daphne, because she felt like Daphne was stealing her baby. And they actually used the letter to God that she wrote in the precinct that day as a way to kind of back up their argument. But remember, prosecution got their own star witness, one of whom was Cuzzo. So she got on the stand and she talked about how Tasha had told her the week before they even went over there that she wanted to kill Daphne, take her baby, and burn down the house. And she, you know, testified about how she did all of that the day that Daphne died and how she didn't really seem to have remorse. She told the jury how she saw, Tasha just switch it up so quick, how she was crying one minute and then the next she was, oh, my beautiful baby, and all of that. She told the jury how Tasha cried, but she felt like it was more so out of fear of getting caught. And the prosecution really dug in. They told the jury she didn't just take this baby, it wasn't pseudocysis. She was jealous of Daphne. She was jealous because Daphne had the life that the defendant wanted. She had a boyfriend, the popular baby daddy that was about to have an album drop. She actually had the baby. And Tasha decided to kill her and take the baby for herself. Looking for a book that resonates with your soul? Well, look no further than Author K, a master ghostwriter, storyteller, and author who weaves tales across multiple genres, from heartwarming romance to gripping urban horror. Whether you're searching for a contemporary romance that sweeps you off your feet or street lit that reflects the realities of life, Kay's writing speaks to the heart of every reader. Her work also passionately highlights the Black Lives Matter movement, bridging narratives that matter. Dive into the journey of discovery, empowerment, romance, and connection through Kay's incredible reads. Visit www.mizk.com today and dive into a world of unforgettable tales. That's www.mzkaye.com. Your next favorite book is just a click away. The trial goes on for about a week and they bring up expert witnesses and testimonies and all of that and the tape confessions. And on May 20th, the jury goes out to deliberate. So they're out for about 8 hours. And when they come back, they find LaTasha Ann Brown guilty of murder, kidnapping, plus an enhancement for using a firearm. And remember, I told you guys before that Dolores, her mom, she got a year in prison plus having to pay restitution. And then Cuzzo, she got 13 years and 8 months for her testimony. Now, originally, prosecution was going for the death penalty for Tasha. She ended up being sentenced to 37 years, which she was lucky to get because she was a minor when she committed the crime. Now, with the prosecution wanting the death penalty, that means that, unfortunately, well, rather fortunately for Tasha, because of the fact that she was a minor when she killed Daphne, it made her ineligible for the death penalty. So she's very lucky she got 37 years. She's sent to the California Institution for Women in Solano County, California. And she was 23, I believe, when she went in. So with a 37-year sentence, she'll be 60 years old when she gets out. Of course, she appeals the verdict, and her biggest argument was that all of the video statements that she gave had to be suppressed because she didn't get her Miranda rights read to her. And it's true. But at the same time, it's kind of like, okay, you decided to talk. Like nobody forced you to say anything. You confessed to everything on your own. But at the same time, I will say I feel like they should have, like, waited for her mom or something. But then again, hell, her mama was being, investigated too. So hey. So, that should have been the time that you should have said, "Hey, I need an attorney," because you're young. I mean, not young enough where, you're a teenager, but still. So she furthers her argument that she was coerced into confessing, and they're telling her, well, if you're such a Christian like you say you are, you're able to tell us what happened and, not lie. And so she actually argues that they used her religious beliefs against her. But ultimately, the appeal got denied and they was like, nah, shoddy girl, that sentence gonna stand. When you confessed, you weren't even under arrest. So that was on you. That was your bad. Appeal denied. But what really pissed me off was Dolores. Mind you, she only had a sentence of a year. In 2009, she had to pay a fine of $100 a month for 21 months. So that's what, $2,100. So they came up with a payment plan and she says, okay, I can do $100 a month. So it's time to start making payments. And in 2009, she motions to have the restitution payments waived. Like, bitch, you watched your daughter steal a baby. Granted, you didn't see her steal it, but you watched your daughter raise a stolen baby and you helped her raise this stolen baby for years. You knew that baby wasn't hers, but yet you kept the ball rolling. All you got ordered to pay was $2,100. It should have been more. Luckily, the court saw right through that bullshit and told her no as well, and then she has to continue to make her payments. But then another shocker drops. February 2023, a lawsuit comes forward against the Vallejo Police Department on behalf of somebody named Tremaine Carroll. Now, the basis of it was that Tremaine, as well as LaTasha and some other inmates, were victims of sexual assault from the Vallejo Police Department. There were particular individuals that were named, such as the warden, Mike Polaris, Officer Rodriguez, a Sergeant Contreras, and a few others that were accused of sexual assault. But here's the kicker. Why did Tasha get pregnant by one of those officers? Mm. Now, Tasha didn't file the suit herself, though. It was done by Tremaine. And because of that, it ended up getting dismissed. Basically, they were saying, like, hey, if Tasha wants to file charges and prosecute, she got to press the charges herself. But I did find a letter that Tasha wrote later on that year about the assault. August 23rd, 2023, she writes a testimony about sexual assault and harassment in the California women's prisons. Now, the California Women's Legislative held a caucus, and Tasha gave her testimony for that. Now, it's a little lengthy, but I want y'all to hear this. Check this out. Good afternoon, and thank you for having me. Before I give my testimony, I would first like to say that this is one of the best decisions that I have ever made because I don't do it for myself. I do it for those that are too afraid to come forward for fear of retaliation. Yet, this is one of the hardest things I've ever done for that same fear of retaliation. Because as a lifer, this means that for the rest of my life, the factors of my safety will be challenged by my incarceration. And though I have that fear, I have to make a decision that I can live with, for my silence would be complicity. So I'm here to amplify the voices of all women, cisgender or trans, inmate or staff, that have been subjected to male violence in penal facilities. Because at the facility where I was previously housed, both inmates and staff suffered from sexual harassment or abuse. I would further like to add that this is not simply a CCWF thing or just a Dublin thing. This is a systemic thing. Also, I'm by no means trying to paint everyone with the same brush by overgeneralizing because not all persons employed by CDCR is a predator. I'm only saying that a uniform or a suit makes for perfect camouflage for one. And with that, I will share my testimony. I want to forget, but my body portrays me as a vehicle carrying these memories. I want to forget the time I was taking a shower in county jail only to turn and find an officer watching me. I want to forget being sexually assaulted by that same officer while I was handcuffed in shackles being escorted to the yard. I want to forget having a flashlight shone on me until I flashed my genitals. I want to forget what his hands feel like as they grope me. But my body betrays me as a vehicle carrying these memories. I want to forget the things that have happened to me at CCWF by multiple officers, including one whose name everybody in this room knows. My name is LaTasha Brown, or as I've been dead named, inmate X08560, and I have survived over 20 years of sexual abuse in penal facilities. In the beginning, I totally questioned myself. Why didn't I just tell? But tell who? I am guilty of the worst of human behavior. Perhaps that is why I didn't tell anyone of those encounters at the time. I even rationalized that my body and my labor were interchangeable commodities because I broke the law. So I remained silent. But buried feelings don't die. Intentions will always find a way to surface. All I know how to do is survive, yet flying under the radar did not keep me safe. And as my personal circumstances deteriorated, I knew that I needed to confide in someone. And when I confided in a trusted friend about the sexual violence, she insisted that I come forward. And while suffering in silence intensified my feelings of loneliness and self loathing, coming forward has presented even more challenges, which causes me so much mental anguish that I grapple with suicidal ideation. Symptoms of my trauma display as problems concentrating. I react irritably to small provocations. I startle easily, and I am on permanent alert. Since I am completely at the mercy of my captors, I have a feeling of perpetual uneasiness as I know the lengths they will go to cover up their misconduct. Like when Senator Romero was sent a threatening letter to back off investigating the Green Wall. Or how I was stripped of my property, isolated, surveilled, and deprived from communication with my loved ones when I came forward. And what else they will do to me, for I am just a criminal index number. Prisons were initially built to reform, a place of penance, but they have become places where society's throwaways suffer a litany of abuses by the ones we hold responsible for our safety and security. Places where a culture of impunity pervades, which is reflected in this institutional abuse and the historical subjugation of all women. And although I live with the constant threat of retaliation because as a prisoner I don't merit protection, I move forward with determination until there is a recognition of the importance of my personhood, the personhood of all survivors of sexual abuse in penal facilities. I remember the moment I learned that one of my abusers was arrested. No, I did not celebrate because, sure, when we experience harm, we want some accountability, some justice, even. However, I don't think his punishment should be the final resolution because it's an amplified response to just one person's abuse, not a response to the systemic abuse. And until our lives matter, I will not bow down or bow out in the face of unwarranted RVRs, random cell searches, or fear as a means of coercion. Because because we are more than just a criminal index number. Thank you. Whew, that is some heavy shit right there. All of that going on will make you go insane. Like it's some weird irony for her to go from wanting nothing more but to be a mother and then you get pregnant in prison by somebody that is supposed to be a guard. Like, oh, that is some sick shit. Like that's crazy. Immediately I thought about Orange is the New Black, although technically, she never really wanted to be a mom, but yeah. That's some sick shit. Like that's insane. And I mean, sadly, there's always going to be some level of assault and abuse in women's prison, as much as we say we want to protest and fight to stop it. And I really hate that she had to endure that. Now, one good thing is she's up for parole June of 2027. So, she just got to try to do good for another 2 years. I don't know if it's going to be easy for her because it sounds like, she's got a lot of retaliatory actions against her and she's got people that are against her because she's speaking out about, the suffering and the abuse that she's endured while in prison. But, hopefully if she is released early, then she takes that time to get her shit together and, really be the Christian that she says that she's going to be and maybe even, be able to use her platform about sexual abuse and all of that she endured in prison to further bring and shed light to it when she gets out. But that, ladies and gentlemen, is the story of LaTasha Ann Brown. And now it is time for Fair or Foul, where we look at the justice system to determine if the sentence that was given was indeed justified or if it was just a bunch of bullshit that has us sitting back thinking, what the fuck? So with Dolores' sentence, the fact that she only got a year was some bullshit to me. I honestly feel like she should have gotten more. Like, granted, she wasn't the actual person that kidnapped the baby, but you can only play stupid for so long. You knew that that baby was not hers. It was literally impossible. You were there with her in April at the hospital when they said she was not pregnant. And then you go and you see her in October and she's got a whole baby. And the baby is 4 or 5 months old at that, not even like, newborn, like fresh out the womb, still got placenta attached. Like, come on, man. Unless it was immaculate conception, you knew that that baby wasn't hers. Like, I could see if, she was pregnant and just wasn't as far along when you guys went to the hospital when she thought she was in labor, but she was not pregnant at all. Common sense, it takes 9 months for a pregnancy. Like, come on, why go through all of that? As the mother, you set the tone. You should have said, "No, whose baby is this? Because it's not yours. You're her mother." Tasha was able to do entirely too much because you let her get away with so much shit. Cuzzo, oh, she got lucky. She was smart. She had to be, because Lord knows I'm about to go to hell for this, but baby, she had to be smart because them looks wasn't it. Now, she wasn't smart in the beginning because clearly she sat there and knew that this girl was serious about killing somebody and she didn't even open her damn mouth or at the very least try to talk her out of it. So the fact that you only got 13 years, you lucky that the prosecution made that deal with you because it could have been longer than that. It should have been longer than that. But because you helped the prosecution out, they took it easy on you. But where was that help when your cousin needed it? And so I will say her sentence as far as Cuzzo's is fair somewhat, because I don't think that she actually really knew that, Tasha was going to do what she did the day of. Like, beforehand, yes, and she should have spoken her mind. She should have spoke up and been like, "Bitch, you tripping," or she should have called her mama and been like, "Hey, your daughter over here talking reckless." The day that it actually occurred, she was shocked. Like, in her mind, she was like, "This bitch really did this shit. Oh my god," you know and I do think that she was the one that tipped the cops off. So in that aspect, yeah, I feel like okay, the sentencing was fair because had she not done that, they probably still would have been looking for that child. They still would have been looking for that baby and had no clue. But you still gonna have to do some time, sis. Now, as for Tasha getting 37 years, that's bullshit. That makes me so mad. The fact that you only got 37 years and you literally shot a woman, you killed her, you stole her baby, you burned her house down, including her. You put an entire family through such a drastic ordeal for several years and was walking around proud as a peacock like this baby was yours. 37 years ain't enough. You only got that because of a technicality. Had your ass been 18 when you did that shit, you'd be in prison for the rest of your life where you belong. The fact that you had the audacity, the nagacity to sit up there and give some bullshit ass, "Oh, it's magic that I got this baby and how the baby changed you for the better." The baby changed you for the better, yes, but it's not going to erase what you did. You still killed somebody. You took the baby and went all the way to Texas because you knew your mama was going to be on your ass. And let's not even get on the fact that your entire fucking family is dysfunctional as shit. Let's not talk about the fact that she was able to get to Texas without her mama knowing where she was going. She was able to stay with her grandmother for what, a month without her mother knowing where she was. Clearly, there was some dynamic here in the family that was fucked up because the mother and the grandmother never spoke enough to know where Tasha was. It's no wonder Tasha could get away with the shit that she did. How did you not realize your daughter is gone? How did you not file a missing persons report? Did you not go to the cops? Like, it doesn't sound like she did. Because if she had done that, when Cuzzo took her goofy ass down to Texas, she could have said something then and been like, "Oh, hey, guess what, Auntie? I'm going to see Tasha." And then she could have been like, "What you mean you're going to see Tasha?" "Oh, she in Texas with her grandma." Do y'all not fucking communicate? Like, to sit there and say you didn't know where your daughter was all of this time, I call bullshit on that. And even if that was the case, that makes me question you as a mother. If my child is gone for 4 hours, fuck 4 months. If my child is gone for 4 hours, I'm calling the fucking cops. This entire family had some serious issues. But for Tasha to only get 37 years, this was a crime that was just so extreme. And I mean, I hate what happened to her when she got in the prison. No one deserves sexual assault. And ultimately she ended up becoming an advocate for the cause. But at the same time, I'm still thinking, yo, you took somebody's life. You still did something so horrific. That girl was 17 years old. She ain't do shit to you. It's not her fault that her nigga wanted her. It's not her fault that she got pregnant by a nigga that fucked you too, but didn't see anything with you other than a bust down. And quite honestly, there's no real proof that you actually fucked him anyway. You just said that you did. A lot of shit that you saying is very questionable. You had another nigga, Rico, that was supposedly the father. And then you had another nigga named B that had two baby mamas that was pregnant at the same time that you was fucking with too. You was 15 years old out there giving up your pussy to anybody that wanted it. So how is Daphne to blame for that? If you wanted to kidnap the baby, there's other shit that you could have did. You could have just knocked Daphne out and took the baby and took off running. You knew she would be able to identify you, so maybe that's why you killed her. Or hell, y'all could have worn masks, anything. There were so many mistakes that you made. You shot this girl while she was holding a baby. What if the bullet had hit the baby? She dropped him on the floor as a reaction to being shot. That baby could have died then. You put the baby in your duffel bag like it was just some dirty laundry or some shit, and you put it in there with a loaded gun that you just fired. What if, the baby had somehow managed to pull the trigger in some odd way? Like I said, granted, the baby shouldn't be strong enough to do that, but y'all get what I'm going with it. Like, what if you reached in there to grab the baby and you accidentally grabbed the gun and shot the baby? Like, it's too many variables here. To go as far as setting the house on fire and all of that, that shit is fucking crazy. You should have had life in prison or the death penalty. And I agree with the prosecution on that. While it's good that you took care of LeJean as he got older and gave him love and everything, that's what his family was for. That's what Daphne was for. That's what Lathan was for. And a part of me wonders, if he had never been kidnapped, would Lathan have ended up in prison for robbery? Now, of course, he's out now and, he's living his life and he's still in California doing his thing. He's still an artist. I mean, he's like 50 at this point, but he's still an artist and he's still rapping. But y'all got to think about the emotional damage that that child has to face, knowing that around that age, that's, they're having all of these memories and they're being stripped away because he's being told, yeah, the person that you thought was your mama all this time isn't your mama. The person that's been raising you actually stole you. She killed your biological mama because she was jealous of her. Like, that's gotta fuck that child up. And you need to be held accountable for that. So 37 years, I call bullshit. Sorry. That is all for this week's episode of The Infamous Ones, a true crime podcast. You can follow the show on the various streams on Instagram and TikTok at Infamous One Podcast. And that's a number one, by the way, not spelled out. And you can leave a review there. On Twitter, it's Infamous One Pod, where you can also leave a review. On Facebook, you can join the private discussion group, the Infamous Ones discussion group. But please be advised, if you don't answer the questions, you ain't getting in. I've said it so many times before. Y'all know the drill. But once you get in, we're going to chop it up because y'all know we talk about the real in there and everybody has fun. And you got to tell me what you're sipping on so we can try it. The show streams on multiple streaming services like Odyssey, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and so on and so on. So leave a review. It only takes a couple of seconds. The reviews matter. And now to those reviews. The first one comes from Apple Podcast, and it's a 5-star review from Maui W. And it's captioned, OKKK. It says, I came across your podcast in the Sisters Who Kill discussion group and have been enjoying you ever since. You take your time with research and give a colorful presentation while honoring the victims and decimating the offenders. Keep going because you are fire. Thank you, Maui. Much love to you, boo. Y'all know how I like to go in, especially tonight with Oceanetta's ass looking like a worn out Harriet Tubman stamp. Like, was she high when they arrested her? I'm gonna post the pictures in the group so y'all can see them. Baby, them eyeballs was going east and west like shit. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, but woo, she was disturbing to look at. My bad. Okay, I'm sorry. Oh, and shout out to Sisters Who Kill, of course, because a lot of people that are in that group, of course, support the podcast and listen to the episodes. So shout out to Sisters Who Kill. The next review comes from Facebook, and it's from Charmaine Murphy on last week's episode. And it says, this latest episode, the family fucked my husband. Whew, I hate to say it, but none of this would have happened if the husband wasn't messing with the cousin over there, dicking her down, knowing she was batshit crazy, shaking my head. All of this is his fault, and I hate this happened to Tammy. My heart goes out to her. Listen, Arnold is lucky because I know every day he look in the mirror, he got to feel like shit. Like, you fucked your wife's cousin, bruh. Like, best believe that's some diabolical shit that you got to look at yourself in the mirror every day and face yourself on. But, yeah. Thank you for the review. If you want to support the show, or if you're feeling the spirit, meaning that liquor that we've been sipping on, click the link at the bottom of the screen from whatever app you're listening to this episode on and hit listener support to subscribe. You can also donate via the Cash App at $infamous1pod. That's $INFAMOUSONEPOD. Donations go toward the usual documentation, phone calls, interviews, etc. And as always, shout out to the popcorn donators. Love y'all. If you have a case that you want to hear more on that you feel has been ignored in the Black community, if you want to inquire about ad space, or if you want to leave a review, send an email to infamous1pod@gmail.com. That's INFAMOUSONEPOD@gmail.com. Once again, people, please share, share, share. The podcast is growing by the day, and it means the world every time you guys share. So keep sharing it, okay? Until then, y'all know what it is. I'm your girl, Kay. Thank you for tuning in, and I will see y'all next week with a new episode. Stay mobbing, y'all. Peace.
Thank you for listening to this episode of The Infamous Ones, a true crime podcast hosted by Kay. Be sure to like and comment on your favorite podcast platform and subscribe so that you never miss an episode.